then you can start to understand that we don't have to be like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling all the time. And it's not always going to benefit our life. And sometimes it's actually going to be a detriment. They just change me so much as a mom. They change the trajectory, the path I'm on. They make me think critically about my life. And I can boil it down to the top 7 books. And I was like, yeah. I want to hear what your top 7 books are. And so many social media platforms, fear. So if you feel a little lost and confused and you're like in a season of confusion as a mom. So I thought we might do a little catch-up chat. I'm 30 weeks pregnant with my 6th baby. Kind of talk a little bit about that, but I'm also going to answer some questions that have come through on email and just do some mom chat and kind of see where it takes us. But it's been a while since I've kind of just like shared a little bit about what I've been learning as a mom, and I hope it will inspire you as a mom and just hang out a little bit. I think it'd be nice. So at this point, like I said, it's the end of October when I'm filming this. I'm going to have a baby around Christmas time if everything stays pretty normal. This is my 6th baby. I'm not finding out if it's a boy or a girl if I can help it. I do have to go back for one more ultrasound because they're looking at one thing on the brain, just to make sure that everything is okay. So you could just be praying for that. I'm trying really hard to like take control of my thoughts and just not worry about it, because the Lord is knitting this baby together and all I can do is take care of myself, right? So yeah, if you're new to the channel, my name is Lana. This is Girl Teach Me. This whole channel is just to be a blessing to you as a newer mom. And, we just need each other. We need mom relationships. I hope you can really feel like we're just hanging out today and that you can feel seen in what you're doing as a mom. I know that it's not easy work, but it is worthwhile work. And the world's not going to tell you that. The world's not going to pat you on the back and be like, way to go, girl. But I am here telling you what you're doing is so very, very important. Even if you have a PhD and everybody thought you'd be out in the world using it and you're at home pouring into your little people, that is amazing. And even if you're having to work and you don't want to work, and just keeping your heart oriented towards your home, I think that's the most important thing, is that our hearts would be pointed towards our home, that we would have a heart for our home. I think that's another thing I would really love to see, is like women taking back their home, taking back this like ownership and dominion over this sacred calling we have of stewarding a home, getting to raise children. What a gift. I have a dear friend who, after a long season of infertility, just got pregnant, and I'm just celebrating because she has been longing to be a mom. And it felt so unfair that I just keep popping out babies, and I'm just delighting with her, but also I know it's a gift. I know it's a gift to get to be a mom. So I'm praying too also that we won't take it for granted, that even though it's hard, we will persevere because we're doing good work and it's important. So I feel like some of the things that I've been learning really come from a book I've been reading. I really try to read as much as I can. I feel like readers are leaders and leaders are readers. And I feel like it's important for us as moms to be learning, not just consuming, not just taking in the next Instagram reel, but like really applying our mind to what does it look like to be the best mom we can possibly be. One thing they said at church this morning is like sanctification is that process of trying to become more like Jesus throughout our lifetime. Like if we can imagine, what would it look like if Jesus, and I'm a Christian, so this is how I'm applying it, but like if Jesus was living my life, what would he do differently? Like what kind of decisions would he make? And that really gave me something to think about. But also like sanctification is a lifelong work that won't be done until we go to heaven. And the pastor told a story. It's the Billy Graham Library. I'm not sure if you've ever been there, but I live about an hour and a half outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And there is a really amazing museum, the Billy Graham Museum. And I've taken my kids there twice. I think maybe Matt and I just went the first time. We took our kids one time, like 2 years ago. But on the grave of Ruth Graham Bell, who is buried there right beside her husband, Billy Graham, it said, "End of construction. Thank you for your patience." And what he was trying to say is, like, this whole lifetime is like construction. Like, we're trying to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be with the help of the Lord. And then it's not finished until we go to heaven. And so I think reading especially really trusted authors. Like, I think we have to be students, not disciples of whoever we read or whoever we listen to. Like, don't take my word, as gospel, right? Like, I'm trying to be a disciple of Jesus, not a disciple of somebody else. Like, my life is going to look so different than another mom because, I have different experiences and slightly different calling. But I think reading, just reading good books, reading good stories, good biographies, they just change me so much as a mom. They change the trajectory, the path I'm on. They make me think critically about my life. When I read other biographies, like when I read The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, like, if you have not read The Hiding Place, it was so life-changing for me to read The Hiding Place. So much so that I named one of my children Corey for Corrie ten Boom. Like, it was... But it made me realize, like, okay, what does real suffering look like? Real suffering is not, when Matt maybe cut a little more of my landscaping than I liked. That happened recently, which is okay. He was trying to be really sweet. He did cut down my rhododendron bush, which I'm very sad about. Apparently, it was 15 years of rhododendron growth. But I will forgive him because he was just trying to be as sweet as can be by pruning our stuff. So... that's not real suffering. I did cry about it. I did cry about it. Yeah. He was trying, though, and he was trying to prune. That's not real suffering. What Corrie ten Boom went through in the concentration camps and living with black lice and watching people die like crazy and even losing her sister, it all to try to be faithful to help the Jews. That's real suffering. Like, that was real suffering. And so I'm just saying, like, as a mom, that shifted the perspective for me. What suffering is, and just like such a good reminder, but like, we are leaders for our family. Like, readers are leaders and leaders are readers. And so I actually have I should have told you this sooner. I have a whole book list of like 64 books that like have changed my motherhood. So that'll be down below for you. Maybe you'll get some good ideas from that. But all to say, what I've been reading lately is a book, and it's from the 1940s. This author, it's Dale Carnegie. So he wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a great book. I did feel like a little bit could have been manipulative. And so when I heard that this was the author of this book, I was a little bit leery, but it's been so good. So many amazing stories, but how to not worry and how to start living. I had no idea I was such a worrier, y'all. I had no idea. Just getting really way out ahead, like in the future, worrying about things that haven't yet happened, or bemoaning the past, or even like allowing the enemy to speak in my life with shame about the past. And so it's been so helpful to read that book. And he kind of like tells you, like, try to live in a day tight compartment. Very much like the Titanic, where they would shut different parts of the ship to keep from flooding, like just living in today. But I know as Christians, we have to have hope for the future. We have to have our eyes on heaven. And so all to say, that's been like a book that's been really challenging me lately is In the Hiding. I'm switching back and forth. This is like my brain. But In the Hiding Place, Corrie ten Boom is talking to her father, and she is worried about death. And which is, we're all worried about death, right? We're all going to die. We're always thinking about how to keep our kids alive and how to avoid death. But like Corrie ten Boom's talking about death, and her dad says, Corrie, when do I give you the train ticket? And she's like, will you give it to me right before I get on? He's like, exactly. God will give you what you need when you need it and not a moment sooner. And I talk about that like in my birth course. Like we have a fear of birth, but like the truth is God's going to give us what we need when we need it, not a second sooner. And so why am I so out in front worried about the future? Like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I just think a lot of times in motherhood, we're like, what if? But am I going to take God at his word that he will never leave me nor forsake me? He will never leave me as an orphan. Like, he will give me what I need when I need it. I've seen it time and time again in my life, but I think sometimes we're like, I need today's bread, I need my daily bread, and tomorrow's bread, and the next day's bread, because like I need to know that I have like stored up tons and tons of bread because what if this happens? And that's another thing that's really been like kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I feel like even on YouTube, some people I even like really respect on YouTube, just kind of like lots of conspiracy theory stuff on YouTube. And I'm not saying they're wrong about what they're saying, but I think what they're doing, and unintentionally probably, is inciting a lot of emotions from moms and a lot of fear. that we have to be completely prepared. And I think we do need to be prepared, like as far as like Jesus can come back at any time, and the Bible talks about having your lantern lit, like be ready. Have the oil for the lantern. Like don't be unprepared. Like death can come at any time. Like are we ready for the Lord to come back or for us to go to meet our maker? Like at any time. Super important. But also feeling like there's something I can do that's going to help me somehow sidestep suffering forever. That's just not true, because like we're also called to suffer as a Christ follower. And so I don't know. I feel like it just keeps women from being present focused, loving their children well, because it's inciting fear for the future when we know that God's going to give us what we need when we need it. I'm not saying we don't be wise and have some stores of things available, but like no amount of me being a prepper is going to keep me from suffering on some level, and just honestly believing that if I'm going to suffer in the future for some crazy thing in history, God will be there. He won't leave me or forsake me. And as a believer, I'm also like, I'm going to have suffering in my life, and that's just like part of it too. I understand. And like also too, I want to say, as a content creator, you're always trying to stay relevant. You're always trying to have, like, if nobody clicks on this video, then nobody watches it. And so we have to do a good job of like packaging up the material we want people to intake. But I think sometimes people do that in such a way that it incites fear, and it's clickbait, right? And so when you can get kind of savvy and understand everybody's vying for my attention. My time and attention is the most valuable thing I have, and people want it from me. Then you can start to understand that we don't have to be like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling all the time. The news makes its living by acting like the sky is always falling. And content creators, they make money by having like contagious material that is very clickbaity. And it's not always going to benefit our life. And sometimes it's actually going to be a detriment, because it's going to distract us, make us angry, make us sad. And it's going to pull us from this like present moment of being so with our children and this environment of peace we're trying to create in our homes. It's going to like a temptation to set our peace down and to like be fearful, when Jesus is like, don't set your peace down. Like, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Cast all your anxieties or cares upon him, because he cares for you. Everybody's just vying for our attention so very much that it's a temptation to steal our peace and our presence and our joy. And I just think we all just kind of need to be beware of that. That's like the world we're living in, is everybody's just like wants our attention so very, very much. But our kids also really want our attention and need our attention. Our husbands need and want our attention. And we have to also take care of ourselves and give our attention first and foremost to the Lord if we're a believer. And so all the things. That's like one thing I've been processing as well. And another life update in case you care, I have a kitchen floor again. Praise the Lord. I didn't have one since June. My kitchen flooded after our dishwasher gave out. And I had lived with subfloor for a while, and it was fine. Like, I could walk on it, but sometimes we'd step on nails and food would fall through the cracks all over the laundry room. And if somebody spilled milk, it went down through the cracks. It was just like a time. So I have a kitchen floor again. That is not real suffering. Real suffering, like I said, is something completely else. But I'm really glad that season, that chapter is done. Now I'm just, like I said, preparing for my 6th birth. So processing through some new things the Lord's been teaching me as I prepare for birth that I kind of want to add into. I have a birth course called Labor Without Fear. And it's like kind of like where I marry like my master's in sports psychology with my faith, with like asking the Lord to help us through birth, but also just like my experiences with birth. But like there's so many new things I've been thinking about. Like, for instance, today at church, one of the things he said is like there's a connection between command and promise. And one of the commands is do not fear. Like, that's actually like the number one command in the Bible, do not fear. And then the promise is basically, I'll never leave you or forsake you. I will always be with you. And so like that ties in exactly with what we were talking about, is there's such a temptation on so many wavelengths and so many social media platforms, fear, when God is saying do not fear. And then the promise is I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will be with you. I will walk with you through the valley of the shadow of death. That's Psalm 23. He's a good shepherd. He's right there beside us. And all we have to do is just ask for his help. Lord, help me. Lord, be with me. Lord, I believe in you. This question comes from Suzanne. And the question is about reading and how to make time to read. When you read, how much you read per day. If you have any other wisdom on the topic, I'd be happy to hear it. So shared a little bit about reading before. So one thing we can do to read, keep a book in our purse, keep a book by our bed, books that we kind of want to get through. Put a book by your Bible and journal and keep it kind of in the same place. Sometimes going to hunt for books or just not having a plan for what we're reading can really be a reason why we don't read. Like just making it easy, like they talk about that, or James Clear talks about that in Atomic Habits. Make it fun, make it easy. One way I do it is I put it by my bed and I try to read 10 minutes to a chapter every night. I've kind of been slacking on that. The other way I read is I listen. I make it my like dopamine hit. Like instead of scrolling, the thing I kind of look forward to is when I go down to the laundry room and I have a moment, I'm going to listen to my audiobook. So right now I'm listening How to Not Worry and How to Start Living by Dale Carnegie. Another thing to read more is just to have somebody to discuss it with, like be in a book club where you're going to have some like healthy pressure to get a book done. I was in For the Family's Sake book club with Restoration Home Community, and that was a little bit of healthy pressure to like, oh, we're having our little meeting to talk about our book. I better read, So sometimes having some healthy pressure, but also knowing what season you're in. Like if you're in a sleep deprived state, probably not the time to read a really heady, thick book that's just going to be a slog. Might be better to read for delight at that point. Might be better to read some good stories. The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, or something like that if you've never read that. I actually really like reading biographies because they're a story, but they're true and there's a lot to learn there. But it flows like a story, which is kind of captures that delight piece for me. And it doesn't feel like just straight rote information, if that makes sense. And so get some books you're excited about. And maybe clear some stuff off your bookshelves that you're not excited about. Like sometimes we keep books because we feel shamed that we never got to them. I'd say curate. Get rid of the books that you just know that they served you for a season, but you're not going to reread them. You're not even going to go back to them for wisdom. Rehome them to another friend. Sell them. But keeping yourself excited about your library and even like a little wish list of books you want to read. I like finding trusted reading lists. Like I listened to this one guy recently and he was like, I have literally listened or read over 1,000 books. He was like, and I can boil it down to the top 7 books. And I was like, yeah. I want to hear what your top 7 books are, especially when he was like, one of them is the Bible. I'm like, okay, like I want to hear what your books are. And one of the books he said was How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living. And I added all of them to my wish list on Audible. And then when I have a credit and I've already finished a book and I'm looking for something new to read, then I'm going to purchase these books. So I think some of the other ones, like for relationships, he said they kind of like a lot of newer books kind of boil back down to these like foundational books. And so he said, instead of going and reading like the latest and greatest book, like go back to these foundational books. I think one of them he said, I was like, I don't know about that one. But the 5 love languages for relationships, How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living. I think he said for business, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's another Dale Carnegie book. But what I'm trying to say is when you can find some trusted book lists, like that's why I love Jennifer Pepito so much for The Peaceful Press. She wrote a book called Mothering by the Book because she talks about even doing read alouds with her kids. And that's another way to do delight is maybe instead of separating from our kids to read, maybe the only chance we're going to have to read in this season is reading with our kids, reading to our kids. So finding something you're both excited to read. And I know some people feel very like about Harry Potter, but like my husband wasn't reading a lot and he never read the Harry Potter books and he wanted to read to the kids, but he also wanted to be excited to read to the kids. And we don't really have a problem with Harry Potter, even though we're Christians. I know it's a spicy topic, but like he's been reading the Harry Potter book to the kids. And I can tell you He just wasn't finding a lot of delight in the other things he was reading to the kids, and he looks forward to finding out what's happening because he's like so different from the movies. So reading to our kids for delight is another way to fit in reading. Most of these are coming from responses to ideas for intentionality, which is like a weekly email I send out every Friday. Praise the Lord, I have help from my dear friend Taylor. Taylor, if you're watching this, thank you so much, because she has helped me be consistent getting these emails out the door. And before it was Taylor, it was my good friend Whitney. And every Friday it rolls out, I think at 5 a.m., 5 or 5:30, and it's a email where basically I'm sharing my ideas to stay intentional as a mom, some of my favorites. But I asked you guys to send me your questions, so I'm going through some of these right now, and that's where I'm pulling questions from. But okay, I do have a question. Okay, here we go. I would love to know some tips for helping our children fight whining, fussing, or bickering. I know it's a loaded question. I have been memorizing the verses Ginger Hubbard laid out for these, but just quoting the verses to my children or threatening a punishment or carrying it out if they don't obey doesn't seem to be working. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Ginger Hubbard wrote a book called Don't Make Me Count to 3. It's actually a really, really good book. Okay, so I think the first thing that's coming to my mind is that I whine, I fuss, and I bicker. And when I think parenting, what's so interesting is it's like my face looking into water and I'm seeing myself. And so if I notice that my kids are whining a lot or complaining a lot, that is always a really good check for me that I have probably been doing the same. A really great book for that is The Power of Christian Contentment, and he talks about the evils of whining, the evils of murmuring. And typically my kids are picking up on my discontented spirit. This is a question from Michaela, and I'm not saying this is you. I'm just saying that it's always a reflection point to me. Like, I have a note card up in my bathroom, Psalm. I'm not sure what the psalm is. I wish I knew the reference, but it's basically like, Lord, have mercy on me, for I am weak. And I think about that when I'm in there having hard conversations with my kids, because I never want to sit in this like high and mighty seat where I am condoning them. Like, I'm not condoning, I am shaming them for their behavior, because the truth is, I do the same thing they do, just on a different level. I'm not saying what they're doing is okay, and I'm not saying what I'm doing is okay, but I'm kind of sitting with them as like a co-sinner. And some people get mad at me on YouTube talking about the fact that we're even sinners, or that children would be sinners. I believe in original inborn sin for me, and that's okay if you disagree. But I sit in there with them and I'm like, okay, you can't covet your brother's toy and then hit him. You can't do that. But like, I covet my neighbor's things or my friend's things. And while I don't go whack them all across the head, I might put distance because I'm jealous, or I don't know. So it just gets more sophisticated. The sin gets more sophisticated, but oh, hello. Did you wake up from your snooze? You did? Do you want to lay on my bed while I finish the video? No, will you go shut the door? Good job, shut the door. I think one, though, like, being practical, the whining thing, also, like, are they tired? Are they hungry? You know, what is, like, the acronym for Alcoholics Anonymous? It's called HALT. Are they hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And sometimes kids are that. So, like, I would say sometimes they're hungry. That's why they're whining. Sometimes they're angry and they need time to cool down. You know, they're like giving full vent to their anger and they just need some time to calm down. Sometimes they're lonely. Like, they're craving more connection with us. They're craving like that eye contact. They're craving the comfort. They're craving us giving more of ourselves to them. And sometimes they're tired. They're just tired and they're not giving their best selves because they're tired. So I guess that's all the questions I'm going to answer today. I hope that was helpful for you. Everybody's waking up, and so sometimes we need to halt. Sometimes we're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and that's really a hard place to discipline from too, is disciplining in my anger. And so just trying to like have compassion. Come here, boo boo. Come here. Everybody can come. I'm finishing. We'll go say hi. We'll go say hi.
Mommy, I took a snooze.
Okay, you want to sit on the bed. I'm almost done. So I hope that's helpful for you, sharing what's been on my heart and my mind, what I've been learning. If you would like those weekly emails, it's Ideas for Intentionality. It's over at girlteachme.com at the newsletter, and you can sign up. And it's just going to send like the things that my kids are enjoying, what we're enjoying as a family, what homeschool resources I'm using, what books I'm reading, what has just inspired me to be a more intentional mom. And hopefully it can just give you that little nudge to just keep the faith and keep moving and keep doing the next right thing. That's why I have this little mug from the homeschool conference I went to. It says, do the next thing. I'd probably add, do the next right thing, from the late and great Elizabeth Elliot. You know, sometimes we can't see way down the road. We can only see a couple steps ahead of us, and we can just be faithful to take the next 10 steps, do the next right thing, and then the path will slowly be illuminated for us, especially if we are in the Word. It's a lamp to our feet. So if you feel a little lost and confused and you're like in a season of confusion as a mom, maybe just doing the next right thing, maybe getting in the Word and not trying to worry, staying so far out in the future, but just being faithful today for your family could be such a blessing to you. And I'll see you again in the next video. We'll say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you soon. Y'all have a good nap. You guys are wonderful.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good. He led me to where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like giving up, you're giving in, but everything happens for a reason. It won't always be blue skies ahead. Sometimes you might need a helping hand, just like iron sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like iron sharpens iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.